Hello dear students, today we are going to discuss a clinical vignette on papillary thyroid cancer. A 32-year-old female presents to her primary care physician after noticing a lump in her neck while applying lotion. She denies any changes in weight, heat or cold intolerance, palpitations, tremors, or changes in the bowel habits. Her past medical history is significant for Hodgkin's lymphoma at the age of 12, for which she received radiation therapy. On physical examination, her vital signs are strictly within normal limits. Palpation of the anterior neck reveals a firm, non-tender 1.5 centimeter nodule in the right lobe of the thyroid gland. The nodule moves freely with swallowing, and there is no palpable cervical lymphadenopathy, and the remainder of the physical examination is unremarkable. Initial, initial laboratory studies reveals normal TSH levels and normal free T4 levels. From this clinical history, what we have a neck swelling, most likely of thyroid origin, and which is painless swelling, and the the patient has no symptoms related to the hypo or hyperthyroidism, including the changes in the weight, heat or cold intolerance, palpitation, tremor, changes in the bowel habits. So there is no sign of hypo or hyperthyroidism, and this swelling is freely mobile, and it is moving even with the swelling, so it is suggestive of a thyroid nodule, and there is no palpable cervical lymphadenopathy, so it is a localized thyroid swelling without any associated lymphadenopathy, and TSH and T4 levels are within normal limits, so that means this nodule is euthyroid nodule. That means it is a cold nodule, does not producing any uh, does not causing any changes in the T3 or T4 levels. A neck ultrasound demonstrates a solid hypoechoic nodule with irregular margins. So a neck ultrasound reveals hypoechoic nodule. The nodule in the thyroid can be hyperechoic or hypoechoic. The hyperechoic nodules are usually benign, while the hypoechoic nodules are usually malignant, especially when these nodules have irregular margins. And this nodule also has punctate microcalcification, and a fine needle aspiration biopsy of the nodule performed, and histopathological findings are shown below. You can see the papillae comprising of a central fibrovascular stalk. This is the central stalk around which papillae are arranged. These are the papillae. These are arranged around a central fibrovascular core, and papillae are long, straight, arborizing, and arranged in a parallel regimental fashion, and the cells have enlarged elongated nuclei with eosinophilic cytoplasm. The nuclei have central chromatin clearing with the peripheral margination of chromatin, giving rise to what has been described as orphan Ni nuclei. You can see the in this image that this is the picture of orphan Annie, and the eyes of her are showing the central clearing, and the nuclei of the papillary thyroid cancer also show the central clearing and the peripheral chromatin, and these nuclei also have grooves, and you can also identify some micronuclei. And one more characteristic feature of the PTC of the thyroid, you can see the calcified bodies, which is known as Samoma bodies in the papillary thyroid cancer. So you can also see the Samoma bodies. Now come to the MCQs. Based on the likely diagnosis, which of the following specific cellular features was most likely observed by the pathologist on this patient's FNA sample? So the characteristic of papillary thyroid cancer that they have often any nuclei with nuclear grooves, intranuclear cytoplasmic pseudoinclusions can also be seen, nuclear crowding and overlapping also occur, and Samoma bodies may be seen uh, in the areas around the papillae. So option B is the correct option, empty appearing pale nuclei with central clearing and prominent nuclear grooves. Let's see other options also. Option A, sheets of uniform monotonous cells in amyloid stroma. This is the feature of medullary thyroid cancer. Option C, abundant finely granular eosinophilic cytoplasm with prominent nucleoli. This is the classic feature of Hurthal cell or oncocytic neoplasm of thyroid. So this is the classical feature of Hurthal cells which contain the abundant mitochondria, and the abundant mitochondria produce the granular eosinophilic cytoplasm. Option D, highly pleomorphic undifferentiated spindle and giant cell. So this is seen in anaplastic thyroid cancer, which is a very aggressive malignancy and usually seen in elderly patients. This is a case of, and this is the classical feature of anaplastic thyroid cancer. Option E, uniform follicles completely encapsulated by the thick fibrous band with capsular invasion. Uniform follicles, as the name suggests, this is seen in the follicular carcinoma of the thyroid. You will say that it carcinoma if it shows the capsular invasion, otherwise it is the follicular nodule, and you cannot see the in this capsular invasion on the FNAC, and it is required the histopathological examination on biopsy. Now come to the next MCQ. By which of the following routes does this patient's specific type of malignancy most commonly metastasize? Remember, papillary thyroid carcinoma metastasized by the lymphatic route, and follicular thyroid cancer metastasized by the hematogenous route. And by the lymphatic route, it metastasized to the cervical nodes and superior mediastinal nodes. Now come to the next MCQ. Which of the following genetic alterations is most frequently implicated in the pathogenesis of this patient's disease? The most important gene implicated in the cancer is BRAF gene. So option D is correct. BRAF gene, especially the mutation BRAF V600E, is seen in cases of papillary thyroid cancer, and it activates the MAP kinase signaling pathway, leads to the cell survival and disease progression. Other PTC associated alterations include the RET PTC rearrangements. So this is also seen in PTC cases, especially the radiation associated cases, and in the pediatric population, RET mutation, RET PTC rearrangements are common. And let's see the other options. Option A, RET protoncogene point mutation, not the rearrangement. So the point mutation is seen in medullary thyroid cancer, and it is associated with the multiple endocrine neoplasia. TP53 mutation seen in aggressive diseases like anaplastic thyroid cancer. Option C, PAX8 PPAR gamma rearrangement is seen in cases of follicular thyroid cancer. Option E, amplification of the MYC oncogenes is seen in aggressive malignancies, particularly the Burkitt's lymphoma, but it is not seen in thyroid malignancies. Now come to the next MCQ. Following the definitive primary treatment for this condition, which of the following serum markers should be monitored regularly to detect the disease recurrence? Treatment options for papillary thyroid cancer include surgery, followed by radioactive iodine therapy, and in rare cases, use of chemotherapy. Surgeries include the lobectomy plus isthmusectomy and thyroidectomy. Lobectomy and isthmusectomy should be done when the tumor size is less than 4 centimeter and the tumor is located unilaterally and intrathyroid. If the tumor size is more than 4 centimeter, thyroidectomy should be done. It includes the total thyroidectomy, and and if there is any clinically involved cervical lymph nodes, then total thyroidectomy should be followed by therapeutic compartment-oriented neck dissection. So, which of the following serum markers should be monitored regularly to detect the disease recurrence? For thyroid malignancy, thyroglobulin measurement is the serum marker of choice, and it is a glycoprotein which is exclusively secreted by the normal or differentiated thyroid follicular cells, and it helps in the detection of any recurrence in cases of well differentiated thyroid malignancy like papillary thyroid cancer or follicular thyroid cancer. However, it is of no use in cases of undifferentiated thyroid cancer like medullary thyroid carcinoma or anaplastic thyroid cancer. Thyroglobulin measurement has main role in detecting any tumor recurrence after the total thyroidectomy has been done. Total thyroidectomy has been done along with the radioactive iodine ablation of the thyroid tissue. So it will only help when there is completely when the thyroid gland has been completely removed by the surgery along with the radioactive iodine, and then it will detect any recurrence. It will not be helpful after lobectomy. It will not be helpful after chemotherapy only. So the extent of the surgery is very important, that we monitor the patient with thyroglobulin measurement or not. Let's see the other options also. The calcitonin, option A, calcitonin is the principal tumor marker of the medullary thyroid cancer. So calcitonin helps in the detection of recurrence of the medullary thyroid carcinoma. Option B, carcinoembryonic antigen. It can also be used in cases of medullary thyroid cancer, but it is seen in but advanced diseases of the medullary thyroid cancer, not in the early stages. Option C, thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. It helps in detection of the Graves' disease, not in the malignancies. Option E, thyroid peroxidase antibody. It is helpful in cases of Hashimoto's thyroiditis or autoimmune thyroiditis, so it is not helpful in malignancies of the thyroid gland. Now come to the next question. What is the expected long-term prognosis for this patient following the appropriate standard care of management? The papillary thyroid carcinoma generally has an excellent prognosis, especially when age is less than 55 years and they are small, less than 4 centimeter, and are located totally in the thyroid gland, intrathyroid only, without any extrathyroid extension, and in the absence of distant metastasis and a completely resectable disease. In these conditions, PTC has an excellent prognosis and can be treated with the surgery only. And after the surgery, patient should be treated with the high doses of the thyroid hormone to suppress the TSH, inhibit the growth of the thyroid tissues, and delay the recurrences. Now, what are the take-home messages? Papillary thyroid cancer classically present with the euthyroid status with painless neck mass and microcalcification seen on ultrasound with the hypoechoic mass with irregular margins and a history of childhood neck radiation can be present, and histologically you will see the orphan eye nuclei with the empty nuclei and the chromatin move to the periphery with the nuclear grooves and semoma bodies which are calcified bodies, and the follicular variant and normal classical variant have good prognosis, and the three histologies which has poorer prognosis include the tall cell variant and in the columnar cell variant, or in cases of hobnail cell variant. These three types of histologies have poor prognosis in cases of papillary thyroid cancer. Genetics: the papillary thyroid cancer is driven by the BRAF mutations and rearrangements of RET-PTC genes. They metastasize via the lymphatics to the cervical nodes, and contrary to this, the follicular carcinoma metastasize heterogeneously. Prognosis is excellent with more than 95 survival over 10 years, and the recurrence should be monitored with the use of serum thyroglobulin. So this is all for today. Thank you.